Welcome everyone once again to the Sleeping with Sonja podcast. I am so excited to be here in Miami with the beautiful Danielle Maltby.
You have such a great podcast
Thank
voice.
you. Thank you. Yeah, I feel like I'm an announcer in the ring, like I'm announcing a fight at the start of a
It takes some getting used to, but I think you've really dialed it in.
So, Danielle, we're here in Miami.
We are in Miami.
And I don't know how this happened, but it's the very first time we're ever actually meeting in person.
I know.
In person. So for those of you who don't know Danielle Maltby, she is not just a gift to this world. She is also someone who has become a social media friend who turned into an actual friend.
Yes.
And I think before we dive into all things with the amazing changes in your life, I'm going to share a little bit of your background and your backstory so that people have a sense of who we are chatting with today. Danielle is a registered nurse, empowerment enthusiast, mental health advocate, avid traveler, crime podcast listener, and retired member of Bachelor Nation.
Hard retired.
Hard retired. Retired, not semi-retired.
No, full on retired.
So it is that ship has sailed, Bachelor Nation, all done. Her career started in neonatal intensive care and worked in NICU bedside for 12 years, which, as everybody knows, NICU and PICU nurses are the real deal.
I think all nursing is pretty much the real deal, but when you get to NICU, PICU, I could not work in any other unit.
See, you've got to be built that way.
Yeah.
You're born that way.
Adults still scare me.
Yeah, see, that's funny. And for me, it's like little people terrify me. After becoming burned out at the bedside with the emotional trauma that nursing brings, she stepped away and started the WOMED podcast in 2019, which recently ended in March 2024. After taking a break from bedside, she found her way into aesthetic nursing and has been doing that since 2020 in Nashville, Cleveland, and now, congratulations, so recently, like
3 weeks.
Like 3 weeks ago in Chicago. Danielle is passionate about making healthcare accessible and safer for nurses and doctors. Last year, she went to Washington, D.C. and advocated with impact in healthcare to Congress to pass a bill to prevent workplace violence in healthcare. So
it sounds so fancy.
Doesn't it? And I'm sure you feel the same way when you hear yourself on paper. Doesn't it sound?
It's very impostery.
1,000%.
Yeah.
1,000%.
Yeah.
But you have had such an incredible, not just personal journey, but career path. And now with this whirlwind, you literally picked up and moved to Chicago, and then you flew to Miami so that we could meet this weekend.
Yes. Yeah. I got yelled at a little bit for leaving Chicago when it's summertime shy. So people know summertime in the Midwest is the best. And they're like, Danielle, you're not supposed to keep leaving during the summertime. We only have 3 good months here. And you have to enjoy that.
And to be fair, anyone who's been to Florida in the summer knows it's the worst time to come to Florida. So it's you're 0 for 2.
Oh, I know. I'm failing.
What are you doing in Chicago? Tell us about your new job because I'm so excited for you.
I'm so excited. I recently moved from Cleveland and everything kind of fell into place. My relationship ended, still really kind of healing and managing some anger from that relationship. Sure. But I just wasn't feeling, I don't know, I was feeling kind of stuck.
Sure.
And as much as I loved the city and everyone I had met in Cleveland, I was like, that's not where I'm supposed to be. Yeah. This is not, I moved here for somebody.
Right.
That wasn't on my list, was not my choice.
Right.
And I was heading home to Wisconsin to visit my dad for his birthday. And I stopped in Chicago, see my best friend and a couple other friends and stuff that I have there. And one of them just, I think she just passed her 2-year anniversary of opening up her own med spa.
Oh, that's incredible.
And surgery center with her partner. She's like, you have a safe place to land here. We need another injector. Come work for me. And I'm weird about like asking friends for favors.
Sure.
I
I completely understand. Yeah. Well, it can feel like you don't want to not only be imposing.
Right.
Yeah.
But like,
it's a very awkward thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I looked at her, I was like, no, wait, like, are you actually serious? Because I think it's time. I like, my family's in Wisconsin.
Right.
One of my best friends is in Chicago, and I do have like a couple of other friends and stuff there. And it just kept feeling really good anytime I was in the city. And I'm one of those people, like, I'm like taking in how everything feels around me.
Oh, 1,000%.
And Chicago felt so good.
So it's funny how life will often work in such a way that amid the chaos, you don't necessarily hear what you're supposed to be doing or where you're supposed to be going.
Yeah.
And when you finally stop and say to yourself, wait a second, there's little things in the universe that are pointing me in this direction.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, there were so many signs. And it was basically like once Britt had offered me the job and I made the decision and I reached out to my current employer and I was like, listen, I'm not like mentally, like I'm not happy here. I love this company that I'm working for, but I don't think this is where I'm supposed to be. And I was like, I want to handle this with like as much grace as possible. But like I did get offered another job in another state. Like there's nothing competing here. Yeah. Like I'm not trying to leave and go start another place in Cleveland. And it just kind of, it worked out better for them. It worked out better for me. And they let me on my contract. And then I got let out of my lease. And I was like, all these things kind of kept happening that were like, oh God, no, this might actually be what I'm supposed to be doing. And I went to, I was going to Chicago to look for apartments one weekend. It was like, just like storming, hailing. It was awful in Cleveland. And it's like basically the whole ride there until I entered the city of Chicago. And my sign has always been a rainbow. Oh, like anytime I need like a boost or like I'm asking the universe, I'm like, I just give me like a sign that like I'm on the right path right now. Let me see a rainbow. And it could have been like nothing but sunshine, nothing but like, there'd be no reason for there to be a rainbow. And there'd be a rainbow.
That's incredible.
And as soon as I got into the city and I looked up and I was like, Jack, has it been like,
is this
raining?
Is this the
like,
thing?
What? It was wild. There's huge, huge rainbow. And then there's another huge rainbow when I moved.
Oh, see that? And again, I often talk about, listen, I am very grounded in science, but I am big on the woo-woo.
I know. Delulu woo-woo.
1,000%. And I firmly believe that the universe does speak to us. And I really do think that it's so easy for us to get caught up in the incessant opinions of others and the voices of, but you just moved, but you just did this, but why would you relocate, but why would you do that?
Why would you put another new job on your resume?
Sure. It's very logical for people to want to defend reality and the traditional sense of normalcy instead of saying, listen, I just know in my heart that this is not the right move for me.
And that this is,
I think that's such a powerful thing. And I have known you now it's been at least 6 years. I mean, so the first
Instagram
time,
friends
so you and I met on your podcast in like 2019 when I was still in anesthesia school.
Yeah. I had been following you before that. I was like, oh my God, this chick is so cool.
Oh no, I mean, listen, I watched you from way beyond. I mean, there's mutual fangirldom happening. That's very, very obvious.
But I love that. I love mutual fangirldom.
But that's what this, not just this profession, but that's what we need. There needs, to see women who sincerely support other women and who sincerely encourage them in this space that can be so toxic and biting and have such negative energy around it. Meeting you yesterday for the first time in person, it literally felt energetically like I had known you my entire life. And
I agree.
That's not something you necessarily see every day. And for you to be able to go through everything you've gone through, career-wise, personal-wise, throughout your life, and to still maintain that inner sense of beauty and spirit, that's something that I think really does take grounding yourself.
A lot of therapy too.
Yeah, well, I'm sure. And I think that's part of that whole process of self-discovery and self-improvement.
Yeah.
How do you stay grounded amid the chaos?
There's like a lot of different things I do to help me feel good. I mean, like, especially after this last breakup.
Yeah.
It was like I was so heavily triggered.
Yeah.
I've got like a lot of like abandonment issues,
Yeah.
a lot of, self-worth, like, and that was so heavily triggered to the point that like when that relationship ended, I was literally thrown right back into the moment I lost my fiance. And like, it's been 12, 13 years since that happened.
Yeah.
But like that night, like the trauma, like you don't experience something like that without like your soul like actively ripping apart.
Sure.
And it's so weird what different things can trigger and like send you right back to these like seriously traumatic moments.
Yeah.
And so trying to just find safety within myself again, because like my body physically felt like it was revolting against me. I was so nauseous. Like the anxiety was daily, like every moment. Like I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't, you're like, oh my God, I don't even think I can eat right now. And everyone talks about like, oh, the revenge body, the post-breakup body, it's so great. I was like, yeah, you feel like shit.
Yeah.
You don't feel good.
It's not.
You might look good according to like society's standards.
Right, sure.
But you feel so awful.
Yeah, it's not worth the agony. Right.
It's the headaches. It's like crying. It's literally waking up and like your heart's immediately pounding because like you just opened your eyes.
Well, it's grief.
Yeah.
And it's reliving grief in so many different ways. And we all grieve very differently.
Yes.
But once you've experienced something that brings back all of those old emotions, it's a compounded experience.
Yes.
And to have to endure that again, it's not easy.
No, it's not easy. But therein having like a good therapist and knowing when you need to reach out for help. And I've been seeing my therapist for probably like 2.5 years now.
Yeah.
And it's been like, there's nothing like having yourself reflected to you and being like, oh, okay, well, there's like really good. And then there's also toxic things about everybody.
Right. That you're a work in progress. And that you can be shown that as well.
I mean, we talked about like fun, silly, toxic stuff.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
But,
we sure did.
we all want to be the girl that like, you know, guys like, nope, I'm going to leave my
guess
wild
what?
ways
You know what? You are totally unavailable in every way. You are emotionally dead inside. Love it. Here for it. Let me.
Nurses, we love a fixer-upper.
We'd love to fix you.
On this episode of Patterns I Am Trying to Break.
On the next episode of Oh No, Not Another One of Those.
Yes.
We have.
Yes.
I mean, it is. You have to laugh about it, right?
You have to. I mean, like, you know what you're doing. And I think that's like one of the biggest things that therapy has helped me realize is to become more self-aware and know like how I'm doing physically in my body, how I'm reacting to certain situations. And then once you start looking at these guys that are like vying for your attention and you're like, oh, wait, I noticed these patterns about you.
Right.
And like you can kind of start to see the unavailability of certain people.
Right.
And like you really start doing a lot of self-discovery work. And so like stuff like that has really helped me become more self-aware and kind of ground into like who I am, like ground myself. But there's been a wild amount of like anxiety, ADHD diagnosis, like different things that have come up lately within like the last 2 years that have really helped me kind of
it
recognize what's going on.
It also validates a lot of why you felt how you felt. You have a name
Yes.
and a
Yes.
you can create a plan and a strategy to dealing with these things.
Yeah. So things that really help me are like taking moments in the morning and just putting my hands like on my own body and just like one on my heart, one on my stomach, and just like just breathe.
Physically
just be like,
grounding yourself.
I'm here. I'm okay. I'm not going to let this like anxiety and this feeling that I'm not good enough, that I have something to prove, that, whatever it may be, because I can't always name it.
Sure.
This like fear.
Sure.
I'm not going to let that totally win today.
Yeah.
I almost like make like a little mental list in my head of what are like 3 things that I can do to say that I did something today.
To have a good day or to have an accomplished day. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have a gratitude journal that I write in every morning.
Love it. I'm here for that all day, every day.
It really, and you can call it woo woo, but there's something to be said for like physically putting yourself in the space in the morning. It takes 5 minutes and just be like, you know what? I'm really grateful that I feel good today. Yep. I'm really grateful I have people that know and love the real me.
Yep.
I am grateful for another day to try and get everything done on the list that I made 5 days ago because
and just showing up.
Yeah. And just showing
gratitude
up.
and showing up.
Yeah.
I think firmly that it's impossible for true joy and happiness to exist without gratitude being its counterpart. Mm-hmm. I think when you lead with gratitude and you recognize that even the quote unquote small things are actually really incredible, beautiful things that happen in your everyday life, you can romanticize your everyday life.
Yes.
And you can change that perspective from, even though something shitty and heartbreaking happened and I've endured it and I am not a victim because I know that I will get through this. And I know that there are people who love me. And I know that the validation of the world or the internet or social media is meaningless at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because I am comfortable with myself. It is a work in progress. It takes time.
Yeah. And it's not going to be, and this is not like some like toxic positivity thing where you're like,
it's very different. Yeah.
Very, very different because you're aware of the bad things happening around you.
One thing that I have so much respect for the way that not only you present and carry yourself, and everyone who's met you has also said that you radiate with this energy. And it's, in spite of everything that you've gone through, it still exists. And it's truly who you are at your core. But the fact that you are sharing with us your own experience and talking about mental health openly and actively, it's something that we're getting better at, but we still don't do enough of.
Yeah.
And for you to be someone in this public sphere, to have such a public life and such a public showing, and to be able to not only do that and honor that, but to say, I'm imperfect, but I'm working on it. But here are the things that I know I bring to the table and I value. That's huge. I think that not just for, there are so many women out there who probably can understand what you've been through, what you're going through. And to hear you say, not every day is sunshine and rainbows, it's incredibly validating for them.
Well, and I think that's also really important to remember with social media, because anything that I post, like I try to post some like real stuff, but even that is incredibly vulnerable just to put yourself out there in that situation. Like, am I going to post a video of myself like hysterically crying?
Sure.
Probably not. We're in the midst of like a panic attack.
Right.
I mean, maybe.
Right.
But not like, I don't know. That also feels kind of weird because there's like,
well,
it's like, how much do you share?
Sure. And it can also
like,
feel like there's a sense of narcissism associated with that, which I totally understand when it feels like the quote unquote overshare.
Yes. Yeah. Like, why are you sharing this?
Right.
Are you sharing this for validation? Or are you sharing this to make someone else like not feel alone?
Sure.
Or that like, no, I don't have a perfect life.
Right.
It is so far from perfect.
Right.
I am not perfect.
Right.
I am so imperfect. I am so messy.
Right.
I am, and like the stuff that I share is only like 10% of it. What you saw on The Bachelor is like 3%. I mean, and I remember.
So, I mean, you are literally like one of my favorite human beings ever from The Bachelor. So that 3% was very well done.
And I am boring on TV. I am not good TV. Like, we talked about this. I'm like, I had the NICU to go back to. My biggest fear, like my first go on The Bachelor, was that like, oh my God, what if I'm taking care of this baby and this patient comes in and like, and their parents come in and like, wait, I just saw you do this on TV. You're fired.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a very valid fear.
Or like, oh, I didn't like you on the show. I don't want you taking care of my child.
Right. You were more concerned
like,
about your actual real life.
Yes, because I had to work.
Sure.
Like I had to get off the show
Sure.
and work. Like Instagram was just becoming a thing.
Right.
You know, like there's people who had that blogger lifestyle and I was just like, I don't know how to do it.
Right.
I'm not a good influencer.
Oh God.
But like,
listen, from one shitty influencer to another, I hear you.
I'm trying to be good about it, but it's also like this is what's funny because I get that comment a lot when people meet me in real life. And they're like, "Oh my God, I loved you on the show," but you're so much more. You're so different in person. And Wells and I had this conversation before Paradise because he was gonna be the bartender, and this is like the first go around on Paradise. He's like, "Danny, I want you to show the real Danny." And it's not that I'm not showing myself, but I'm like, it's so hard to not be in your head when you are on national TV and you're worried about like hurting people's feelings, and maybe it's kind of dishonest. I mean, like,
I don't know that it's
not dishonest, but it's just not the full picture.
I think it's self-preservation.
Yes,
in many ways.
That's better. Yeah,
and it's very, I think people need to understand too that television is not always reality. No. In the sense that the way that you are portrayed can be merely just a snapshot.
Yes. Yeah.
And to have that, I mean, I cannot fathom the stress of, let me tell you something. If a camera followed me around 24 hours a day and they heard half the shit that I said in a day, there would be a very different.
I felt so bad for the camera people because I'd literally be like this. So you can't use it. You can't use the footage. I'm breaking the fourth wall
because you're literally looking at them. You're staring at home in the audience like a Zach Morris moment in Saved by the Bell. It's a mind fuck.
It is. It really is.
And for you to have to not only say I am not this person that you see on television,
or I'm not just this.
Yeah, person. You're so much more than that person.
Yeah, I'm like sneaky funny.
You're fucking hysterical.
I mean, like people don't know that.
You're hysterical.
And it's sneaky funny.
You're incredibly witty and you're fun to be around. You feel good to be around. And
that's like the best compliment.
But it's true. It's just like yesterday we talked for probably like
all day.
Almost 12 hours of a day. And
we still have shit to talk about always, on this podcast.
All day, every day. And it's very, very seamless. And I think that television is one thing and then social media is an extension of that, right? So it's like what people get out of you there, they have to understand, number one, that that's never going to be the full picture. And number two, and this is the part that drives me insane about any of these platforms, you are a real person.
Yes. With a real job.
Correct. And
I work really hard.
And you are literate. You can read. Mm-hmm. So you can see when people say things.
This is really funny. And then, I'm gonna let you finish.
Okay. I'm not. No. Now you have to say it.
I posted. The photo from the pool the other day, and there's a book in the background. Some people are commenting. Oh, you're a reader.
Stop.
Oh, you read?
I mean,
I'm like, what do you mean? Like
revelation?
Yes, I can read.
Not only can I, but I do.
It was just, and I don't think they meant it that way.
No, but it's hysterical.
I think they meant oh, you're a bookie person. You love all these you read the smut, you read the good stuff, you read the. Yes, I am a woman with feelings, and I do really enjoy Ryzian from Fourth Wing.
Incredible. Fourth Ring was amazing.
Court of Thorns and Roses series,
Absolutely.
Love Fourth Wing, all the. Yes,
the fact that you blew somebody's mind because you read books is. I love
Jane Eyre.
See, if that doesn't speak to, first of all, okay, here's an idea. You will be back on the show. I'm going to start a book club on this podcast.
That's a great idea.
We are going to start a Sleeping with Sonja book club, and it could be smut. I don't care.
Smut club.
It could be the smut club. It could be the cliterature club, and we can talk all about.
Love it.
Okay, fantastic. But yeah, you are a human, and you have a life, and you have this sort of sense of normalcy where you have to encapsulate normalcy with this fucking chaos of everything else.
It's calmed down a lot.
Good.
Very grateful for that.
Good.
I mean, and of course it's fun when someone comes up and they're like, hey, we loved you on the show. Do you mind getting a picture? I'm like, yeah, of course.
It literally, it happened yesterday. And there were little girls at the restaurant. You made their entire world.
That is just the wildest thing to me. Because it's like, I feel like a nobody. And we talked about this.
I know.
And it's like, I'm not, and you know what? No, I am special. I'm a human. I am worthy of love.
You are.
We're changing how I speak about myself.
And we will affirm those things. And I agree with you. But it is completely bizarre to.
Everybody's dealing with
and
shit.
I know you. And I know you know. I never see myself the way others see me. And I think that's that level of. I understand on paper that there's one thing, but this person, in many ways, I'll always feel like the little girl that never could have become those things. So that's a constant struggle and a constant fight. And for me, a lot of separating from whatever nonsense is going on, whether it's, dealing with professional stuff or healthcare being in shambles or the world being on fire. And I know for me, travel is incredibly important because it helps me not just reconnect with myself, but also you sort of see the good in the rest of the world as well. Yeah. And to me, that's incredibly grounding. Has there been any trip that you've been on that you've taken that fed your soul?
Yeah. I've been very lucky in that there's been a few trips. But Jack, one of my best friends, my heart, soul sister, I love her so much. Yeah. We went to Majorca last August. And this was like, the breakup hadn't been announced yet. Yeah. I just needed to get the hell away. Yeah. And that trip will forever be so special to me because just of like the moments that Jack and I had, the conversations, I had like a very, very spiritual moment and, felt different people that I loved and cared about and had lost with me in like a very, very real sense.
Yeah, in a visceral way.
Yeah. And it was just so special. Literally, I remember floating there in the water as the sun is going down, and I'm looking over at Jack, and you can see it. We just felt like mermaids, and we looked at each other. And we go, core memory.
Oh, that's adorable. I mean, it's spot on. It's perfect.
It's like moments that you never want to forget. And I feel like my parents didn't get to travel as much. I've traveled way more than they ever have. Yeah. And whether that's been of fear or money, resources, I just value it so much. Yeah. I just moved to Chicago, and a week later I took myself to Maine by myself.
Oh, and how was that? You took a trip on your own?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's beautiful. Have you done any solo travel before? Was this your first?
I think technically that was the first planned solo trip where I was going to be entirely alone.
Yeah, yeah.
I did have the chance to go to Kenya a handful of times.
Incredible. Yeah.
And that travel was all alone, but getting to a destination where I would meet people. And the second time that I went, I already knew the people at the community that I was going to be staying with. Right. And traveling for 24 hours by yourself and navigating Cairo airport and stuff like that by yourself, you're like,
yeah, okay. I did 44 hours to Bali on my own.
Nice.
Alone. Yeah, for the month of April, and it was the first time.
Yeah.
I had traveled alone to Spain. I went to Barcelona alone for the month of January, and that was my first sort of true. I've done a lot of domestic, weekends and conferences, but it was my first intentional, I'm going with the intent of just embracing beauty and culture and just letting whatever writing and creating comes sort of come.
Yeah.
And then, going to Indonesia alone was an extreme sport by comparison. It's just, just 40 hours of travel and 3 different connections and lots of bags. And when I tell you it was the most spiritually transformative, and not to sound like a total eat, pray, love cliche, but like it legitimately felt like this is the true definition of feeling present. And the way you were floating in
with
the
yourself
sea in Mallorca, and you have that sense of, I can feel the people that I love that have passed, and I can feel excitement for the future, but I can also remain right here in this moment. I have chills as I say that. That's what those 4 weeks felt like. And I wrote 153 pages of a new book in 1 week.
That's amazing.
If that's not opening up some sort of chakra while I'm there, and it really is something that if you have, and I understand that travel is a privilege.
Yes.
It's a huge privilege. It's not something that everybody can do, but if you do have the opportunity to do something alone, even just for a few days, romanticize your life a little bit.
Yeah.
There's a whole shift that happens when you can just sit and exist with yourself in that way.
Oh, yes.
And I see the serenity on your face when you think about it. And so what is next for you? What are you most excited about?
Oh my God. Right now this sounds so silly, but I'm so excited to get to work.
Oh, no, it's exciting. I love hearing that.
I love what I do.
Oh, that's amazing.
There's definitely a huge amount of imposter syndrome. And I think that's healthy because it keeps you learning and keeps you open to learning, because we know that in nursing, like no 2 days are the same.
Sure.
Never. Everything changes.
Never. And so many things that happen were never in a textbook.
Right. Right. But you also learn something new every single day. And I have found that to be true no matter what field of nursing I've been working in. And with getting this new job, I'll be working at Fulcrum Aesthetics and Surgery Center.
Plug the information. We need to know.
You can go to the link in my bio to book with me.
Incredible.
But I'll also be getting the chance to learn and work with Brittany Crossdale, who is one of the lead injectors in the country.
Oh, that's incredible.
She is so kind. She's so incredibly intelligent in what she does, and with complications management, which is a huge part of aesthetics medicine, is things can go wrong.
So when you say complications management, you mean the literal algorithms and practices for when things
don't go as
planned.
Yeah, because everyone's anatomy is different. And this is also why it is so important to not do these cheap Botox parties, because not everybody has as much experience as they say. And I know everyone's got that one friend that can get it and does their Botox.
Sure.
Fine, great. If you're happy with that, do it. But there's a huge difference between getting a Groupon and going to get your lips filled or something like that, and actually going to someone who is fully trained, has experience under their belt of helping with what happens if something goes wrong.
Right.
Because again, these are medical procedures.
Right. And I think people tend to maybe forget that part.
Yes.
Because they hear the word beauty or aesthetic and they
think it's a facial.
Yeah. Right. And it's very different.
It's very, very different.
In this realm, I think it is the absolute truth that getting what you pay for is not necessarily.
It's very true.
It's not just, you have a gorgeous setting with aromatherapy. It's that you have people who know what they're doing on every front. Not only are you going to get the results that you desire, but if there's something that doesn't go right, they will be able to fix the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge distinction. And I think that the beauty and aesthetic industry is so booming that people probably become quite overwhelmed.
Well, yeah, there's a ton of options. And I mean, my DMs are filled with nurses who are so burned out at the bedside. They want to do this. It's no secret. The pay is better in aesthetics.
Yeah.
The hours are better in aesthetics. Right. And it is it's like a breath of fresh air,
Mm.
like leaving the bedside
Sure.
and going into this world, or at least it can be.
Sure.
But it is heavily saturated because everyone is burning out at the bedside
Right.
and wanting to do something different and
Right.
actually be compensated for their knowledge, for their
Sure.
skill.
So what do you do to stay on top of your game? Do you take courses? Do you study on your own?
I follow a lot of really great instructors. And a lot of these instructors have extra content that they provide, like extra educational on platforms like Patreon and stuff like that. And so like that's a huge useful tool.
Oh, that's incredible.
What I'm really excited for with this new job is that they always do these like oh my God, my brain right now. They go over different case studies.
Oh, incredible. Cool.
Like we would
So
do in
case
nursing, or
scenarios.
like case scenarios, new treatments, new journal articles, best practices. And so like that is a constant part of this new job that
So
I'm
it's
taking.
evidence-based.
Evidence-based.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Education forward. I could not be more excited. Like
You look so excited.
This is what is so great about aesthetics medicine. And I know it's oversaturated right now. Everyone is trying to be an injector right now. But it really is, at least for me, like I'm a Libra too. So I love like balance, beauty, all things like aesthetically pleasing. I get to use my scientific brain. I also get to use my artistic and creative brain.
Oh, yeah.
And it is the perfect balance for me.
See, I think that's what people don't really recognize either. It is truly art.
It is.
It is truly art.
And science.
It's so your excitement is actually like, I want to book with you right now and I don't even know what I'm doing. I just want to come and say hi to you, and so if people want to set up time with you, they will we will make sure that we put in the bio.
Yes.
And what is the handle, if you know the handle for your actual?
Yes. So this is going to be fun. I have to like build up a new page entirely from scratch.
Fantastic.
There's a lot changing within like aesthetics medicine with access to people's before and afters. You have to do it a certain way. It has to be shared on a business actual page.
Sure.
And I did have like another aesthetics page, and I'm really kind of sad to see all those followers that I had built.
Sure.
Not
Well,
being able to
I'm hopeful
use.
that they'll all migrate.
But
yeah.
I'm hopeful they all migrate. My new profile is Danielle _Fulcrum Chicago.
Okay.
And so we'll get that all spelled out.
We will. Okay. And we'll make sure that and that's also tagged in your main Instagram.
Yes.
Great.
Yes. And my main Instagram is @Danielle Maltby.
That's it. @DM Maltby, for those of you who, we will make sure, once again, that everything is linked, because we want to make sure that everybody knows not only what's going on in your personal world, but also you're sincerely so stoked about this new job.
Well, and people, I feel like it's changing, and I'm very happy for this, but there is always that sort of shun or like side eye at aesthetic medicine because everyone's like, well, I don't want to look like a housewife or like some overly filled like bimbo who can't move her face. And like that's just not the norm.
Yeah, there are many ways to skin a cat.
There are, but like,
and
aesthetics.
I think the fact too is people who have had some work done, you may not always even know that they've had anything.
Exactly, and it gets this sort of like vapid, like it can be real vapid, you know.
And I think again, not only this, you talk about it openly, and I think that's so fucking cool too. There's no hiding.
No, it's just fun to help people feel like themselves.
Yes.
It's fun to help. I mean, I shouldn't say it's like fun. It's like really, it's actually quite humbling. And there are so many beautiful moments that happen in the NICU. There are so many beautiful moments that happen in my aesthetics chair. Like there are victims of like domestic abuse situations. There are people who've been in horrific accidents, people who have done or had like these other things happen to them, and being able to give them even like a little bit that helps them feel like themselves, helps them like see themselves like they were prior to these like huge events. It is.
And that's the part people need
That's a gift.
That's the part people need to know.
That is an absolute treasure.
To help people rediscover the person that they were through the work that you do is probably not something anyone would have correlated with this. And that's why these conversations are so important.
Yeah.
And on that note, I cannot tell you how happy I am that we finally met in
real life.
And I hope you realize I will be crashing your place in Chicago. I
Perfect.
love it there. I
Come
spent
to my
St. Patty's
pool.
Day weekend there this year. It was a blast. So
We'll come during the summer. Because
for sure. It was freezing. It was so damn cold. But we had a great time, and I really, really look forward to coming and seeing you in person.
Yay.
Guys, I am so thrilled. Make sure you check out Danielle Maltby across all of her socials. We will tag her everywhere. Thank you guys once again for tuning in to this conversation that can, not only inspire you, but help you see the real side of what people truly are. So, Danielle, I adore you. Thank you for being here.
Thank
and
you for
thank you
having
all
me.
once again for sleeping with Sonja.